All right, y'all, we're going live across all platforms, almost all. TikTok, you missed out. But here we go. We're going to talk about fat loss over the age of 40. Yes, I am the right young age of 40. I don't actually remember. 46? 46. 46. No, 46 this year. I'm 45. What's up, Luis? So, hey, normally you're not supposed to ask a woman her weight or her age, but in the chat below, how old are you? We'll leave the weight alone. Derek, you're not over 40. You can't watch this. I'm just kidding. So what's the difference? Like we have this, what's up, brother? How are you? What's the difference between, dropping fat when you're younger versus older? What's the variables in place and maybe some tips around it? I think it matters. Too many people remind me how they used to be. And they forget that that was 10, 15, 20 years ago, and your body was different. A lot of things were different. You had different stresses in your life, a lot of factors. Luis is 27. That doesn't count either. But Karen knows what I'm talking about. She's a day or two older than 40. Chanel, she knows what I'm talking about. Hormones start to change after 40 at some point. Actually started around their 30, but we don't notice that significantly until we hit those 40 markers. Here's another funny one. I'm going to get into the meat of this here in a second, but as you come on, do me a favor, tag somebody that's over the age of 40 in this so they can hear this information. But one of the things I want to ask y'all, have you ever heard this one when you have an older person that says, what's up, Singapore? You have an older person that says, you just wait till you're 30 or you just wait till you're 40. You ever hear those? Mr. Dwayne Danner, he's the ripe age of 73, maybe 74 now. Kathy Berry, how much have you dropped, Kathy? How much have you dropped, Peggy? Both above the age of 40. But I want to give you some tips around this so that if you're a little older, you realize you're in a different game. You're not not playing on the same baseball field as you were when you were 20. You're playing in a different field. And we need to think differently. Use that wisdom that we've gained from our teens or 20s and 30s, a lot from mistakes that we made. Kathy Berry's down 235. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You and, oh man, goodness. Peggy says she's a little over 40. She's almost 60, which is cool. I think she's down 150 pounds, which is super awesome. Y'all, and I'm going to toot my own horn here. I'm, since we started Prove It, I was 39 when we started. I'm 40, going to be 46 now. And I am 1 pound. I'm 1 pound lighter than when we started. I got lost a pound. No, the real win in that is I didn't gain any weight, right? I didn't gain any weight. I actually shaved some years off my life. I look a lot younger now. But here's the secret. When you get to this, at the end of the day, when you turn 40 years old or over 40. And I could really do one that's after 50, probably after 60 and after 70. I did 40 because that's kind of where I'm at. So that's where I'm talking to. But it's going to apply to everybody across the board. And it really gets simple. What you need to do is you need to stack as many odds in your favor. And it's really important that you do that because if what happens after the age of 26-ish, your hormones start to shift and change. That's a natural part of aging. Your hormones start to shift a little bit. And your ability to build muscle goes down. Now, some of you fitness people out there are probably trying to defy that. But the reality is that in comparison to when you were 16 to 25, your ability to build muscle was easier than after that. You have to require more effort, work, and time and commitment into it, which, as you know, when you get about 40, you usually have a lot of life happening at the same time. So it's a little bit more, the commitment's a little harder because you're torn between a lot of things. And so here's the thing is your hormones are setting you up for losing muscle mass as we get older. Well, when you lose muscle mass, it has an impact on how your body metabolizes energy. So you don't basically burn as much energy. So now after the age of 30, you're going to burn less energy. So if you're a person, I'm going to ask, my wife says this all the time. She's like, Dustin, when I was young, I could eat anything I wanted before I gained any. I didn't gain any weight. Like I could eat with the dudes. I could eat with the guys, the football team. Like I could eat with them. I'm like, good for you when you were 18. I go, not working for you now. Like it doesn't work that way because her system has shifted since then. And her mindset thinks back then, but it's not going to apply today. So you got to wrestle with that. I know this seems like simple stuff, but it's built in subconsciously. We think we can get away with what we could before. It's like when we used to party in college, you go out and drink, you could drink a lot. You woke up the next day, you rocked on. Nowadays, you drink a lot, you feel like you get hit by a Mack truck. Lots of reasons why. So what I want you to do is if you're trying to burn fat, a couple of the best friends that you have is fasting is probably the number one best friend you have. And ketones, drinking ketones. These are the things that are your best friends. Why? is because as we get older, it's going to be harder for us to get into ketosis. It's going to be harder for us to metabolize body fat, and that's not even saying if you have any health challenges, right? Like me having an autoimmune disorder, right? That adds a little bit more complexity to it. You're more likely to have health problems after the age of 40, or your system has been affected somehow than when you're younger. So all these things are stacked against you. So probably the two biggest things I would recommend as tips to get started is to fast. These are my two favorite ones. I love the reboot. I'm doing 60-hour reboot right now, but I like the 24-hour fast because it's simpler for people to do. It's easier for people to build momentum off of that. So I really love the 24-hour fast. But drinking these every day in the morning is a game changer. So you drink these every day in the morning, every day in the morning, every day in the morning. And what you're going to do is you're going to start your day off in ketosis. So you're going to have this energy and focus and mental clarity. But there's a secret to this. If you're over the age of 40, you might not get the same effects as fast as somebody in their 20s or 30s, just because you're metabolically not as efficient, meaning that you don't process and eliminate body fat as well as you used to. So your system may be a little bit more stagnant, I like to say. So you have to look at it a little bit longer. You can't go, okay, I'm just going to try this. Don't try it, do it. We know it works. I mean, Kathy Beer is down 235 pounds. On Peg's down 150 pounds. We know it works. It works. I haven't gained a pound through COVID, through international business, multiple kids. I haven't gained a pound. It works. And it's not because I'm a genius on eating. It's because it works, if that makes any sense. So drinking ketones is number one secret of this journey. And then giving it time. Don't rush into your I need to have results. Listen, I have 3 people that just signed up with me and they're like, I need to lose. They got 3 weeks. I need to get ready for my military weight score. I need to get ready for a wedding, and I need to get ready to go to Cancun, Mexico. I got 3 weeks. Guess what? If you're over the age of 40, it's a little tougher to change that much in 3 weeks. Doesn't mean we can't. It's just that it's not fair to yourself to give yourself that small window, because you have another 30, 40 years that we're preparing for and planning for. But here's what you do. Drink this first thing in the morning. You're going to delay your first meal. Have it at noon. Some days you might not even have a meal till 3. That's okay. If it's every day, I have a problem with that. But if it's sometimes, then that's great. So basically, delay your first meal till you're hungry. Try to eat around noonish, 1 o'clock. That's fine. In the afternoon, you're going to have an optional, either a keto nat or a keto pro, which I don't have one right. Well, I do have one right here. Or a keto pro in the afternoon. And I like this for my aging population. Because it has a lot to do with helping build muscle mass, and you don't want to lose muscle when you get older. It's such an important thing. So I like this. I like this in the morning and this in the afternoon if you're about the age of 40, especially if you're prone to losing muscle mass, or you're just not really that active. If you're active, you may have other ways that you're building muscle and you're eating really well and high protein. Then maybe you can just do 2 of these or just do 1 of these. That's fine. But this is what I like. This in the afternoon, this in the morning, and then have a low carb meal in the evening. Now, you don't have to be perfect. Do it most nights. If you can do that 5-6 times a week, the other day, maybe you have some flexibility. If you're really serious about dropping body fat and you want to do it fast, well, you got to stay more committed. You can't have a lot of days off. You can't have a lot of days going. And I live in the wine country, and I'm going to talk about alcohol in a second. That'll be one of my tips for y'all. But after the age of 40, you got to stay consistent on this journey, because you're not only trying to metabolize body fat, you're trying to undo the damage that's been done up to this point. If that makes any sense. If you spent many days eating lots of carbohydrates, if you spent many days sitting on your butt working, if you spent many days not being as active as you used to, if you spent many days being unhealthy, if you spent many days drinking, smoking, doing things that aren't elevating your health, you have some undoing to do. So to expect, it's frustrating when people go, well, Dustin, it's just not working. No, it works. You just were unhealthy as ever when you started, and it's going to take you longer. That's just it. Like, there isn't a way around it. And why I can say that with a smile on my face is when the people that say to me it didn't work, they always call me up 3 years later going, I'm going to actually really try this time. And now they never quit. They're on forever. They're good. I can talk about my aunt from Arizona. This happened to her. And I see these things very, very common. But a couple tips is you want to be careful when you're on your fat loss journey. Be careful with excessive amount of dairy eating. When people start going low carb, dairy is something that's easy for them to mass consume. And I'm not saying don't eat dairy unless you have an allergy, which, just so you know, 2/3 of the world's population probably shouldn't eat dairy. So it's a pretty high number. And it this can slow the system down. That's why. But also it sneaks on people. It sneaks up calories. It sneaks up the amount, and it just becomes excessive. And what happens when they start eating a lot of dairy, they end up eating less I like to call it real food, like animal proteins or clean proteins with good vegetables and maybe some healthy fats. They eat less of that because the dairy is an easy go-to. So they're eating cheesy this and cheesy that and cheese this and cheese this and cheese this. I don't mind cheese on your food. I love the Prove It meals that has cheese in it, but it's not the primary part of the food. It's an added support to the food, which I'm fine with that. So that's number one. Number two is watch out the nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are way overconsumed on the modern day keto diet or low carb dieting. So those are another ones that be careful. When I actually was going through one of my protocols I wrote like, I don't know, 17 years ago, we allowed 1/4 of a cup of nuts or seeds a day, 1/4 of a cup, just to kind of put in perspective how little that is. 1/4 of a cup is like small. Most people will devour that in minutes, and they do that 4, 5, 6 times a day. Or they make cookies that are just crazy amount of nut flour in it. And that's not ideal if you're trying to lose body fat or trying to stay ultimately healthy. I think that should be very much moderated. So those are two big tips I have for you when you're 40. So, but I want to come back to the fasting. Why fasting matters so much is when you get older, what we know about fasting is that fasting is an anti-ager. There's a lot of evidence about it. Also, we know that fasting helps with fat loss, right? So one part of fasting is intermittent fasting. What that means is you eat dinner at, like, let's say 6 o'clock, and you don't eat your first meal until 12 the next day. That's a fast. That's an intermittent fast. It's a small window fast. And yes, you can drink ketones on that fast and do just fine. But this 24-hour fast, what we do is we have a dinner at 6 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until the next day until 6 o'clock. So you go full 24 hours. And we have a kit for that just because it helps you feel better. But I love that. I love fasting because it can help break plateaus. It's a challenge for you. It also helps teach you your relationship with food. But the anti-aging benefits are extraordinary. The health benefits are extraordinary. Also, fasting has been shown to help bring up some hormones and balance out some hormones, especially testosterone in men and women, which is good. You want a little bit more. You don't want that dipping down as you get older because that's going to have a huge impact on your health. So it's got a huge impact on fasting. Fasting has a huge impact on hormones, especially testosterone. So that's a good thing too. 60 hours. I do this once a month. You can do it twice a month if you'd like. But 60 hours is going to go a little deeper into that fast, and it's a little bit harder. It's a little more challenging. It's longer, but you sleep 3 nights of it, so that's already take away 24 hours of the 60. So really, you're into 46 hours of actually being awake for that. So it's not so bad, but that's a great way to also accelerate this journey. Also helps teach you your relationship with food. So these are some tips after the age of 40. But the last one I want to give you, and then I'm open to any questions. You guys have questions. My uncle talked about knee replacement and hip replacements on my Q&A. I should talk about that. I need my hip done. I just scheduled my surgery, not my surgery, my appointment with the doctor to schedule my surgery today. So, and then I hurt my good hip today playing baseball. So I'm in quite of a comfortable spot right now. But one of the most important things when you get older is exercise. And this is tough. It really, in the chat, I haven't been talking to you guys much. In the chat, put down what is your favorite exercise. And I have this unique thing. Actually, I've been exercising my whole life. I got my first weight set when I was 8 years old. So I'm pretty biased to exercise, if that makes sense. But I've also wore myself out. Now, most people can't overdo it because they don't do enough to overdo it, right? They're terrified of doing more. I got swimming and biking. That's awesome. I know Karen's like me, where she has to be very selective of her exercises because of joint health. Walking. So this is I want to be kind of like more brutally honest with you guys. If you guys open for me to be really open and honest about some things around this, if you say no, I'm going to do it anyway. So the researchers that we're working with, they're very, 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 very big advocates that you really need to do resistance training. You need to do weight training. Okay. Now, in some hands, they'll actually talk down on cardiovascular exercise like biking and endurance things, running. And I don't think that's their intent to talk down on it. I think that what they're doing is they're trying to make sure that people really understand the priority that we need to find ways to get resistance on our body. And this is important. If you want muscle mass, if you want bone density, weight training is important. Also, it needs to be hard enough. It can't just be going through the motions. I watch too many people go to the gym and they're grabbing 5-pound dumbbells and they're flipping their arms around everywhere. That's not doing much. You're not getting that much from it. You need to feel the resistance. So I'm very biased towards this. So what I tell people to do this is like if you like to swim, if you like to bike, if you like to do endurance, walking, running, things like that, then go do that because you enjoy it. Do it because you enjoy it. They do suggest if you want to lose some weight, don't do it over 75 minutes. If you're not in shape, don't do it over an hour. And do it as often as you can because you enjoy it. It helps psychologically for you to feel better. Go out and do that. But you should really substitute at least twice a week resistance training. And I'm going to give you kind of that rundown. This is important because if I work with somebody and if they don't do this part of it, they typically never get to their end goals. When they go, I just want to lose a little bit more. I'm a little bit here. They don't ever get there. Now, if you're okay with having a little bit extra on there, my mom at 72, she's completely okay with not being lean and buff. She's okay with that. Awesome, mom. Go and enjoy your life. Don't worry about it. Do I want her to do some resistance training? Yes, and she has been. But my mom has a hard time challenging herself, meaning that once it gets hard at 10 reps, she wants to quit. And the reality is if I put a gun to her head, and that sounds really bad, I know, but she could do like 30 reps, if that makes sense. So the 10 is hard, but she could really do 30 if she had to. So that's a thing in her brain that is telling her to quit too early. So here's the reality is when you're doing your resistance training, I am a big fan. I know Chanel's on here. She does CrossFit. Most people above the age of 40, and I think that's amazing, by the way. Most people above the age of 40, things like curves, things like circuit training at a gym, like a basic regular gym, is often the best thing for them. Doing these functional training or CrossFit style training or we call it functional movements where people are kneeling on balls and balancing acts and all that stuff. That shit is crap for most people. It is absolutely ridiculously should never be done. And I'm talking about that's like 95% of at least America should never do those functional styles. They should literally go to places that they can sit on a machine and they can push weight that's causing resistance. And this, right now, if there's some fitness people on here, they're going to get mad at me for saying this. The reason why this is so important is that most people don't have the integrity, the whereabouts, and their joint health to handle functional movements. And therefore, they never get enough weight or resistance to get really stronger. And I can prove this to you guys. So they did a study with women. I think they're in their 65, maybe 60, 65. And they basically measured heart rate going up and down stairs. And they had these women do all these different forms of exercise. And the one that helped the most was doing seated leg extensions in a gym, just a regular seated leg extensions. That helped them more than anything else because they could increase the load. The ladies didn't have to think about it. They didn't have to think about what they're doing. They literally just had to lift their legs, and it caused their legs to burn. And they worked hard, and they got the best results. Their heart rate significantly dropped when they went up and down the steps. But all the other things that everybody else did, their heart rate stayed up high going up the steps. That means they weren't in better shape, right? But they were working out. They were in fitness. So if you're not new to fitness, the best thing that you can do, if you're relatively new to fitness and you're not confident about going to a gym, the best thing you can do, I have home workout stuff, which is fine if you feel confident doing those. But the best thing you can do is go to a place where they have like a circuit and you push the machine, and the machine kind of dictates a little bit of your motion. Now, I will tell you, get in a position that's comfortable for you. If it doesn't feel comfortable, then don't do it. But when you do the resistance, this is the tip, is that you want to pick a weight. You want to warm up, get warmed up, but you need to do one set, at least one set, where if you could do 11 or 12 reps, it's just too light. You got to go heavier and get used to that. Now, it might take you 3 or 4 weeks to get comfortable enough to push yourself that way. That's okay. You don't have to rush to the end. But this is so important because it'll get you stronger. It'll help with your bone density. It'll help with your metabolism. And hormonally, it'll make a bigger difference than any kind of balancing act or functional movement that you can do. As a 45-year-old that has a lot of joint problems, and I know fitness really, really well, I can manipulate myself to do a lot of stuff, but my mom can't. Most people that I work with, they're just trying to figure it out. So when there's a machine there that's really easy and they can just basically follow the motions and they can just push a button or select a different weight, that's awesome. So that's what I want you to do. So y'all, if you want to drop weight after the age of 40 and drop some body fat, you're going to drink your ketones every day. All right. I highly recommend fasting at least once a week to once a month. Drink a Keto Pro in the afternoon, ideally 2 low carb meals most days, and that's it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Watch your alcohol consumption. I live in wine country, where alcohol flows like, I guess, like wine, or the salmon of Capistrano, I guess. Alcohol flows a lot up here. So you gotta be careful, because that stuff will add up on you. Calories, just carbohydrates, it'll add up on you fast. So that's it. I'm gonna pop off in a second. Can you post some videos or post on resistance training? That's a great question, Carrie. Not really. I don't really have the challenge with posting videos of what I recommend. A lot of the exercise videos I recommend, I have these 3-minute workouts that have been going really, really well. But if you're doing my 3-minute workouts, they're pretty like simple. Although if you're not in shape, they're pretty tough also, and they're all done at home, and they're great. Does it replace a machine, a circuit, a machine? It doesn't. The machine is. I'm more confident my mom could do the machines than my 3-minute workouts. I love my 3-minute workouts, and if you feel confident, you build up to them. I think they're great, but they're not going to do the same thing. And so the machines are pretty amazing. So most gyms, if you go to a regular traditional gym and you ask them, hey, do you guys have like a little circuit you can do? And ask them, and then go practice that. Take a week or two and just practice it. I know Derek did one on at his gym when I was out there. He's like, yeah, I wasn't feeling it. I just did the circuit. Awesome, right? But as you get older and you don't like to do big dumbbell squats, and you don't like to do lunges and cleans and all these other things, I mean, the machines are just a simple way to get strong fast and a way not to get hurt. For most people, right? And that's why I love that. And so I wish I had a better plan for that, but every gym's going to be slightly different. And that's what I would recommend. And it'd be worth your investment to go to the gym to do that. And it doesn't have to be an expensive gym. I mean, you can go to like gyms that are 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness. They don't have to be these crazy elaborate gyms that you can get this kind of training. Now, if you're a person that loves fitness, been doing fitness your whole life like me, well, I'm going to choose something else. Like that makes sense. Like that's not what I need to do. But it's what most people should be doing, because that's what they're able to do and willing to do, and actually going to have success while they do it. So I hope that answered your question, Carrie. That's a good place to hire a trainer. You don't need somebody to count your reps necessarily. But it's a good time to hire a trainer. Say, hey, listen, take me through this. Just know that the trainer doesn't know that much, especially about you. And tell them that a trainer that knows a lot said, hey, sorry, trainer. They're just not super educated on this stuff. And they basically, most trainers are they're gonna have you do what they do, not necessarily what's best for you, because that's all they really know. If they're a young trainer, they only know what they've known, right? They haven't been through the hard knocks of understanding the dynamics of all these different types of people. So they're gonna teach you what they do, and not necessarily that's going to work for best for you, for the bang for your buck, for the time and commitment that you're going to do. So hope that makes sense. Hello, my friend. I've been on keto for the last 7 months. I've been only eating Arby's meat. No bread has been working. Well, that's interesting. That's awesome. Pretty good, but my bombing runs like a river. My bombing runs like a river. I don't know what that bombing. Well, Arby's meat. Dyer or Randy, I love Arby's, by the way. I used to eat Arby's all the time. I a couple times I have the Arby's meat and it just tears my belly up. So I don't do that anymore. Just keep in mind, if you are doing low carb or keto dieting, I still recommend high quality food. You can go to McDonald's and eat keto. You can go to Arby's and take off the bun, and that should be situationally. If that's the way you're eating, that's not quality food. It's food, but it's not high quality food. So I would start looking at getting some, if it's chicken, beef, get the rotisserie chickens and eat some food that's substantial, that's going to have more solid vitamins and nutrients in it. That's not going to be just completely processed out. So, but awesome job on getting results. I mean, that's a good start, but let's start making that transition over to it. If I think it's your bowels are running a little bit, I think that's what you're saying. That's not fun at all. So quality of food really still matters, and no matter what, we recommend ketones, but we still recommend quality meals, quality food. And this is the first company that I've ever been part of that has really stood behind, you got to learn to eat, because food is medicine, and ketones support that journey. But if we can get people to eat better, then we're going to change the health of our country. And that's probably the most important thing we do. So any other questions for a hop off? Weightlifting and kickboxing, only have done it with the classes. Yeah, so classes, Kiana, I don't mind classes. The problem with classes that you're not they're cardiovascularly driven, so it's really hard to actually push enough weight at any time in classes that are going to make the impact that you should be making. So what I would recommend, Kiana, is if you love the classes that they make you happy, I think kickboxing is really cool too. Still do those. Maybe you go in the gym, 15 minutes before the class, and you go through a circuit and you push yourself before the class. You'd want to do the resistance training before because it's going to be actually more important from a metabolic and health perspective. So you primarily always want to do resistance training before cardiovascular health because it is generally healthier for you to have more muscle mass and stronger than ever being running for a long period of time. As a human species, I can get into that for days, and I'm not going to get into the stress part of that. But yeah, so I would recommend go to the gym. If you're in the gym already, go in there and find a circuit you can do. And that will just support those other things really well. And you get a double win, and you can still do the things you like to do. So cool. Any other questions for me? I know it's late tonight. I wasn't planning on going late. I had a baseball game. My son had a baseball game. We had dinner late with the family. So nothing's more fun than when you have to cook dinner for the family and then you're not eating at all. But hey, kids still got to eat. Kids still got to eat. What's going on? I wish they could fast with me. I think I get in trouble if that happened. But all you walkers out there, I want to encourage you to get out and move a little bit more. Do some other things. Resistance training matters. Don't hurt yourself. Be okay with the time it takes to learn it. It's a supplement now. We need to supplement physical activity because we're truly missing it. And then do that by showing your kids that they can do the same thing. So become that example. Proudest thing my wife and I do is that we actually have a fitness gym at home. Not really gym, but like an area of fitness. And at the gym, and we make sure they see us work out at home. We make sure that they see us work out at the gym. And for them, it's just part of life. They just know that's what we do. And so, but anyway, hey, if you haven't got your ketones yet or your fasting kits yet, let's get those. Let's get it started. Get back to whoever invited you. If somebody tagged you in this, whoever invited you, get back to whoever invited you. They can hook you up. If you're following me and you're not following anybody else and nobody invited you to check this out, hit me up. I'll take care of you. We'll get you set up and we'll get you going. If you're over the age of 40, you want to change your life, I just gave you the secrets. It's not that hard. It's actually really simple. You just have to be consistent on the journey. If you don't, I'll see you next year. Or the year after. I'm waiting for you to come back. That's just the reality. The recipe for success is really simple when it comes to the journey. And it's just a matter of, are you ready to go do it? And not willing to quit. You got to keep going until it's done. That's the recipe. That's the success. Cheers, y'all. Anytime, Yolanda.